You have to build an efficient business no matter what size you are, and keep building an efficient business as long as you can. Just never stop innovating. And I think that's why you and I decided to start this podcast, because we just wanted to help you draw a straight line instead of, learning from your mistakes, because that eats up money too.
From Sarah Systems and Billy Go, this is No B.S. with Billy Stevens and Landon Brewer, the unfiltered, straight-shooting podcast that dives deep into the heart of home service trades to uncover the truth about running your business. You're entering the No B.S. zone with Billy and Landon.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the show, No B.S. with Billy and Landon. Today, we're going to tackle the subject of siloing your employees. And basically what this means is as we get more successful and we get the newer digs, we move to the nicer offices, it's nothing better than putting a bunch of offices together and having everybody be in there. And that to me is siloing them. The communication needs to open up even more than it should when you're smaller. I mean, you should just really have an open concept, in my opinion. And so I brought, Landon's in on this today, and he's got views on how this works. He's got more experience in a really big operation and how they help with their communication. But I think a lot of companies out there really suffer with the inner office emails and the communication that, just bogs everyone down. And so today, let's hit a little bit on how to open up that communication. What do you got to say about it today, Landon?
Man, I'll tell you what, I know that you may view me as having some masters in organizational psychology and industrial design. But I'll tell you what I've figured out. I figured out how not to do it. I've been into so many businesses where you can literally walk in the front door and you can tell whether they're profitable or not just by taking one look around. And it's just, you've just seen so many of them, so many setups, and you've seen so much of what not to do, and so much what to account for. But it's a pretty important topic because as people grow their businesses, they got to grow their footprint, right? And most people do that as a secondary opportunity to, buy buildings, rent them out. There's a lot of opportunity, but the most important piece, whether you're buying, leasing, et cetera, is you get it set up right for success to get you to the next level. And I think I got a pretty good purview of that.
Yeah, I bet you do. Like myself, I've been in lots of businesses, and you can tell a lot about a business just walking in the door. And what I find more and more is how separated everyone is. It just blows my mind that we just have everyone in these offices and no one is really communicating other than digitally. And I just feel like collaboration is a big process of getting the culture in the right place. For instance, I'll give you an example of what we do at Billy Go. So we have our department managers and our inside sales guy. They're all at the same table in the same room. And they have their own computers, they have everything they need at this table. It's a large table, and they have everything they need. And then they have, assistants right around the corner. They can go and talk to someone that's in the CSR area, whatever. But we keep all of them together. The dispatcher, CSR, we kind of keep them all together as well. And the reason why we did this open concept is because when I had my first big business, I was the first one to go and build big offices. I had my own private office. And I realized that when I built my own private office, all of a sudden I lost touch with a lot of stuff. I like roaming around and just chatting with my employees, and just, encouraging them and doing all that. So I'm more of a roamer. I kind of, move around and stuff because there's, everybody needs, I don't look over their shoulders. I dang sure don't do that. That's the last thing I want to do. I don't have time for it anyway. As you know, we don't have time to babysit, if you will.
Well, let's be honest, Billy. I'm surprised HR lets you in the door. But anyway.
Well, that's a funny story. Since you bring up HR, let's talk about that. My CFO is our HR guy, and he's the worst guy ever for HR. So, we did that on purpose.
You got to know what offends people to make sure things are not offending people, right?
So we gave it to the least qualified guy. So it works great. But and we don't even pay him for it. That's not part of it. We didn't pay him extra. We just gave him the job. Yeah, that is really, I'm telling you the truth here. That's really what's going on. He is the HR guy, and yeah, at least qualified.
Yeah. I'll tell you. But your open thing. So I used to call it kind of a bullpen setup, right? And I know that everybody's got this. When they hit a certain level of business, they want to get a bigger building and more grandiose, and do it like the Google style, where we have video games over here in the break room and massages over here, and everyone's tempted to do that, right? In the name of culture, but it just doesn't make any sense. It never works, right? So it's all about efficiency and closeness, and then efficiency in your business operations, also efficiency in how the building and business is set up, right? So I've always seen it work best where we got this like single story, get everybody on the same floor, no multi-story stuff where you got accounting and HR upstairs, but if you have to silo somebody up there, that's probably who you want to silo. But single story, spread out, wide, have all the managers and all departments flanking the kind of hub, the heart of the business, if you will, the call center, dispatch area, et cetera. And so that everybody can easily communicate. There's no barriers. You have maybe some separate offices for training rooms and private conversations, but a couple of break rooms, et cetera. But like keep it generally just wide open. Like we've looked at warehouse spaces before and we're like, okay, we're just going to build out along the side, keep some separate warehouse space and utilize kind of the industrial warehouse space for just general open area where we're going to put the call center, we're going to put the dispatch, we're going to put all of the departments around so that constantly it's a hub of activity, but everybody knows exactly, and you only have to walk 2 paces this way to get to the person that you have to interact with, right? So if the service manager's or an ops manager has to interact with sales, they're sitting right here, right? If payroll's got to interact with both of them, they're over here. And everybody is keenly aware of what's going on in the business all the time. Because you got, whether it's computer screens or TVs, whatever, all over with all of the valuable data sitting right in front of everybody in the same area. That's really, in my mind, the ideal kind of layout, if you will.
Yeah. So I agree. I like the open concept. I like the open communication is what I like. And again, we do have offices for private conversations, phone calls, whatever you need to do. But we also get that extra help. If one department manager is not as busy or has some moments, they can pass things along because they're all collectively going for the company, not just the department, right? And we've seen so much more collaboration this way. And it also allows us not to hire as many people because more things get done. Everybody's aware of the whole company of what's happening. Yeah, they know what they have to do in their particular position. However, they're aware of all of it. And therefore, when you make them aware of all of it, then everyone's aligned on the goals that need to happen every day. Yep. And that is the biggest thing that I've seen from doing it this way, because I didn't do it this way the first time. And the first time when, we had our company and I had everybody in offices, we had about 10 more people working for us at about the same size that we are now, that we don't necessarily have now because of the communication. Obviously software has helped a lot, but the communication, still the human aspect of it, of communication, because our business has never been able to go remote, right? We never closed down one single day during COVID. We all came to the office every single day. But my software company, they disappeared. They're different, they're different. They were scared. They all went and got vaccines. Everybody upstairs got vaccines. Everybody downstairs didn't get one. It's the difference. It's the two different types of companies, right? And so it's so true.
I love it.
I am absolutely telling you the truth on that one.
That's the truth. I mean, it's the two sides of the story.
And I'll be honest with you, I went with Billy Go on this one. So so I didn't go upstairs when it came to that, but they were getting the booster shots and everything upstairs, and everybody downstairs was not getting it, anything at all. And we worked through the whole thing, and I don't think we had but 2 or 3 outbreaks or whatever. And that was it. And it was over. And never a full home business worth of people out. That never happened. So anyway, that's the past. Yeah.
Fortunate for you. So I was going to say it like this too. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if it was, maybe it was Gerber in his book or someone, like, it's been stated before, your business is a school for your employees, right? And if you keep the perspective that you're building your business to be a school for your employees, like, think about how schools are set up, right? You got to, whether it's a kindergarten class or high school class, it's set up in a bullpen style where you got the teacher up front kind of teaching everybody in rows, and everybody's kind of congregated together, or you break off and do your little group projects. But you're not sitting and they're not learning in different offices everywhere. It's you got your 30 people piled in a room all working on the same stuff, right? And so if you think about your business being a school for your employees that way, where you got a bullpen set up and everybody's in the same kind of general vicinity, not only is communication flow smoother, but you quickly identify the disruptors and assholes of the bunch, right? that may be dragging the culture down. They stand up like a sore thumb, right? You can't hide. You'll identify underperformers or people that may be trying to skate by and just do the bare minimum. That sticks out like a sore thumb, right? But even more, if you've got all your KPIs and you're actively working to make your business a school for employees, where you're teaching everybody every aspect of the business, right? Could you imagine how successful, even if, like, that's why there's never a limit to success and how large you can grow these businesses. Could you imagine if, like, I don't know if you have warehouse drivers or part-time drivers or what you have in your business, but, like, imagine you have like a delivery driver or a part-time warehouse person working for you. Now imagine if you could take you clearly have at least 60 years of experience in that brain. 60 years of your HVAC and plumbing experience there, 60 years of your home service experience, and translate all of that information and every KPI, how you set up every compensation system, what every metric of that business has to be to hit your budget and exceed your budget today. Imagine that guy, that lady, that part-time warehouse driver, whatever, warehouse employee, delivery driver, if that person had the level of knowledge that you have about the business, Billy Go would be a $12 billion business. I mean, it's just, that's only made possible if you can translate the information of your business all the way down throughout the organization. And the only way you do that is the school setup.
That's right. You have to be able to have that open communication, and everyone from the top to the bottom understand what we're doing and how we're going to achieve the goals that we set. And everything that happens in the business has to be communicated, because one cog in the wheel doesn't do its part, and it's obvious really quickly of what's going to, the breakdown happens immediately. But with systems in place, where the breakdown is, and then you go try and fix that problem, right? That's what we do. We're teachers, but we're also fixers. We're constantly fixing the business. We're constantly looking at how we can improve the business. And that's the whole concept. The whole reason why I got into this crazy game of software and all that is just because we're just so inefficient in this industry. It just blows my mind how inefficient we are. And I just couldn't leave it alone. So I had to come in and do something about it. And the people that understand what you're teaching, what you and Lewis are teaching, what I'm teaching, and what we all do together is basically, it comes down to efficient processes, whether it's efficient communication, efficient actions, efficient movement of anything in the business. If you just find a little bit easier way to do it, it all adds up significantly. And that is really what it's all about. And I know it's a buzzword now. Efficiency is a big buzzword now. People are using it, but there's no recipe out there other than people just using the word.
Yeah.
And that's the point that I'm trying to make, because I live it every day. I have a contractor business. And we are constantly, I'm just so fortunate that I have employees that all came here for the same objective, which was, how do we build the most profitable business that has ever existed in the trades? That was our goal.
And I mean, it's kind of like a production or assembly line, right? In terms of efficiency, it's operations management kind of 101, where you figure out the shortest, the most accurate, efficient way to, whether you're manufacturing dry goods, whether you're manufacturing any sort of widget, right? You're putting it on the assembly line and you're figuring out the most efficient and cost effective way to take raw material and end up with this result. And our business is no different. As we tweaked it over the years, I was working inside of a business. We had an opportunity to, renovate and kind of design our own space. And I just, the building just happened to have been set up in such a way where that the warehouse was open at two ends, and it wasn't quite connected because it was two separate facilities that we were just merging into one. So we just blew out a wall and we built this drive-through, right? And man, we built a system around this drive-through where every morning the installers would come in staggered shifts, right? And then we've taken this and we've kind of expanded it to different businesses over the years. But the installers would come in staggered shifts, starting at 5:30 a.m. They come in, whether they had to unload something or whatever. Most of them had a helper that would start packing everything up. They'd go inside, they'd get their coffee and their packet of information for the day for their job, and then the warehouse guys would load up the new equipment. They would go through, and we could actually, depending on the day of the week, there'd be a wash. So the truck would get washed on the way through. By the time the installer was done with his coffee, he was ready to jump in the truck, and had all of his stuff loaded, had all of his paperwork. His helper hopped in and went out. Then we had every 15 minutes an install crew coming in that way, so it didn't disrupt it. Because it's chaos in the morning. You've been in these businesses; they turn into chaos. 7:30 in the morning is chaos, and you could lose 2.5 hours of your day times 20, 30, whatever many employees you have in that critical hour, because everybody's got to come in for meetings, or I got to talk to payroll, or I got to talk to HR about this. Billy is harassing me doing, they're coming in, and you got the installers trying to install manager trying to get 6 install crews out at one time. You got your service, and sales guys trying to get 7 of those people out at one time. And then they all want to come in and disrupt all the dispatchers. And it just becomes a chaotic mess if it's not a managed system. And so for every system, from even your, how you get your installers in and out, your technicians, and from an efficiency standpoint, that's where you lose so much of your efficiency and margin, is all of that wages that's just unproductive for a couple hours a day. So you have to figure out a streamlined kind of, assembly line approach to how to manage that in the morning.
The way we build budgets, the way we build the numbers for our companies, we build it on the successes, but we don't compensate for the unsuccessful part of the business, like what you're talking about here. And what I mean is when we put together our budgets and we go, okay, we're going to sell this air conditioning system for, whatever, just say $15,000. And we're going to pay the installers this. We know it's a fixed cost. We got a flipping fee. We got a salesman on board. So all of our costs are fixed. And so we know exactly what we're going to make on this job. And this is how everybody does it. But what they don't do is, how do I offset all that time in between this perfect scenario? This scenario of, okay, I sold the system. I got all the pieces in place. We know how to do it. We loaded them up quickly. We got everybody involved. But what we don't count for is we have a sales closing rate of 60%. So we don't look at the 40% ever. And the 40% is what I focus on, because we all can figure out our cost of going and doing a job. What we haven't figured out, or up until now, I have what I need to figure that out, because that's what drives me crazy, is that 40% of going and bugging the dispatcher, or going and, just loitering around waiting for your stuff to be put in the truck so you can go to the job, or whatever the excuses are. All these things that happen in that chaos, this is stuff that is unproductive time. And this is the efficiency piece that I focus on, because I want to be able to be paid for that, because I'm paying. If I bring a guy in to unload a truck at 5:30 in the morning, you're paying him because you brought him in and he started working. You brought him to the office and he's working at 5:30. He didn't even get out of his truck, out to the job till 7 or 8. So from 5:30 to 8 o'clock, there's a lot of time.
Yep.
And that's not figured in. We're not doing that part.
Oh, that's why you see these, your replacement margins, or, your pricing's built at 65%, but you end up with a 52, or, like, I'm going to build it for 60% and I can't figure out why I'm at, a blended margin of 46. It's like, well, you're not accounting for all of the chaos and unproductive labor and all the stuff that's associated with it. Right.
That's right. And that's what we measure. That's the thing that that people haven't realized is we're measuring the unproductive. Yeah, we can measure the productive. That's easy. But what we do is we measure the unproductive part. And by being able to do that, we've created a way to charge for that, because we know that when we sell something, we know we need to be at 117%, because if we're 100% of our budget, then we're losing. That scenario happens. That 60 gross margin that we planned for is now a 50, 52, 49, whatever it is. It never matches the number. And that's because we do zero planning on the non-productive stuff.
Yep.
And when I figured that out, that's when I was like, okay, I got to solve this problem, because I am sick and tired of having, all right, 60% gross margin. We're going to make a killing. We're going to go to the bank. We're going to make all this money. I didn't start making real money until I started measuring the unbillable time.
Yep.
And once I started measuring unbillable time, now I had data that didn't exist before. And I could take that data and I could apply it to my cost of doing business. And I could spread that out in such small increments across every customer, the successes, right? The 60% successes, or whatever our close rate is. I could take and spread out that unbillable time based off of the information that the software has given me. And now I have technicians and out there in the field that are paying for the installers to load up. They're paying for the salesman to drive out there and do his thing. They're paying for all the time that they spend in the office in the morning, like you're talking about, that chaos. And we figured out how to charge that stuff to every customer, no matter what we do. Even if we're just resetting a toilet, that customer is going to pay a piece of that unproductive time that everyone has. And the software gives us the data on how much to do that. And we make it super easy to change the price book, which is, for some reason, is so difficult in our industry and most places. Changing your prices and price books, I hear people paying $50,000 a year to have someone fix their price book every year. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do it on the fly in 5 seconds?
Fix the problem that causes that, right? So here's the interesting thing. So, I've got my theories on it, but because I've been in, it has to have been over 30 different branches that I've officed at least part-time out of over the years. So I've seen some really interesting setups. We should get into that if we have time. But when you have the opposite of what we're talking about, right? When you have everybody kind of individually siloed, different departments over here. I've seen people in, behind like glass doors over here, and accounting siloed over here. And, what do you think, besides just the lack of like easy communication? Like what do you think that causes in the business? Because I've made some observations.
How much it costs the business?
No, what do you think it's causing in the business that's why it might be a negative thing?
Well, I think because of the fact that you're siloed, you're not communicating and you're not doing anything to help the process. And so, for instance, in our company, it's not unusual for even the person doing the accounting to be in the operations room talking to the guys about, here we missed this, and I'm making you aware we missed it and why we missed it. They know just about they know as much about what's going on as that team does, because the information's available to them. And of course, they're the penny pitchers, and they're gonna watch every penny, and they're gonna be in there and going, okay, I need more details on why this business, or this job, if you will, wasn't as efficient as we built it to be, right? So where did we find the breakdown? Even the accountant gets in on the action, and even the marketing department gets in on the action. And of course, we, vice versa, the operations are like, hey, where's my calls, right? It's just we're always talking to each other, and that open concept is what really brings in the efficiency in the business. But of course, we have to have software to be able to count every minute of everyone's time, right? And
well, you're used to seeing in building teamwork, right? So when I've been in some like terrible setups, And one of the things, besides just being in kind of some dingy bad setups, is like when you're segmenting everybody, you're starting to build little factions, right? And they're building little kind of mini kingdoms of their own. And then you get like little internal wars and cliques that are going on. It's like, okay, the plumbers are over here, they've got their clique, and dispatch has their clique, and they don't, the accounting people are over here, and the people in the offices, those people are super important, and like you just kind of start building this weird animosity, and people start gravitating towards the people they're closest to. It's really hard to go to work every day and like be at war against the person you're sitting next to, right? Yeah. It's really easy to be at war at the person that, if you're in high school, like the group of people over that sit on that side of the lunchroom, like, we can go to war with them because, right. They're the cool kids, or whatever this. And you just want to avoid that because it's unnecessary chaos, right? Even if the result is it's a stupidly boring business where everybody gets along, and it's like, what's that movie where all the girls are like, they look and act the same, and it's like Amityville. I don't know what it's called, but like even if it's like the most boring situation in history, you know what that tells me? That's a profitable business.
Yeah.
When you have this chaos and all the chaos in the mornings we're talking about, but then also like the warring factions and the cliques that build up, that stuff is like the antithesis of profit. It's like just the exact opposite of profit. And if you don't have it set up the right way, you could be like it could be in good. You'd be like, oh, I want to get you in office and you in office, and you got the Oprah owner over here giving away offices to everybody, not thinking it's an amazing thing, but it's just terrible. We had so many offices at one place. This was great. Instead of just fixing the problem, like you're talking about, we put cameras in everybody's office at one organization. And it's like you can just zoom in on everybody, what they're doing at all times. And it's like, oh, I got Big Brother. It just creates some terrible culture, right? I mean, just absolutely.
No, we don't need that.
We had one where the GM, we had taken over this business. We sold to ARS. Shouldn't name the guilty party, but it was ARS at the time. That business is long gone and changed. But, we went into this business and went into the GM's office. And he had a separate shower room in his office. He had, a toilet and bidet. And I'm like, oh, is this like the showroom? He was like, no, this is my private shower. And I'm like, HR lets you have a private shower? I mean,
I have a confession.
That's a potential nightmare.
I had that at my first. I had that at my first business. I'll be honest with you.
It happens a lot.
Was it me that you were talking to? And now I'm the CEO of two big companies, hundreds of employees here. And I don't even have an office because once I grew up, if you will, I realized, what am I doing with this big office I have my own personal bathroom, shower, everything that I want in my office, refrigerator, everything. And I'm like, that was cool, but man, I'd never do that again. I mean, I would never do that again. I couldn't do that anymore. So I wanted to, I really don't. It's true. I don't care what anybody says. If you've ever been here, I don't even have an office. I don't feel like I need one. I have a cubicle, and there I set my backpack down and then I go about my day, and see what I need to see and talk to who I want to talk to. But the thing about it is, you're talking about these groups, the high school table, in high school, the lunch tables and stuff. That does happen because if you just had your install teams, do the install thing in the morning, they only know those people. That's it. Or the techs in the AC department only know those people, right?
Yep.
You don't know many other people. And it's all about everybody collaborating. And so but not being annoying. You got to understand, you can't over collaborate. You still have to get work done, but at the same time, you just have open communication is really what we're doing. So we can eliminate a lot of eliminate the spreadsheets and the inter-office emails. What I'm ultimately trying to do is like, how do I get rid of the stuff that we could just have that at our fingertips? Whoever has the permissions to look at it can look at it immediately and see things happening live. It's cool that, my accountant can look at a job that just closed out and be in the operations room and go, where'd you guys screw this up at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love
just to
that.
keep your finger on the pulse. When I was a GM, like they would, yes, I'd have my office over here, but I felt like I was so far away from everybody. I felt like I was just not even part of the team, kind of. And so I would always have a separate station in the dispatch area because that's where all the actions happen. You get to hear the technician, you get to hear, like, before we had some of the tools we have now, I would at least have my finger on the pulse of what was happening everywhere in the business just by sitting over by dispatch, because that's really, like, quite frankly, that's where the GM should sit. That's the heart of the business. It's like
Yes.
you got all the controls at your fingertips there. And it's hard to do that, siloed in an office somewhere.
Yeah. In my first business, my morning routine was I walked in, I put my stuff in my palatial office. And I walked out and I went and stood behind the dispatcher and, just kind of talked to her when she had a second or the dispatcher team. And, in between stuff, I'd talk to them and just kind of get a feel for the business for the day. And that was how I got my information. And thankfully now I don't have to do that. I never go have a reason to go in there other than to, hey, what's up? Right. Because things are happening and I can see it happening. So I don't have to stand over anyone's shoulder anymore. I don't need cameras. I'm not going to do that. That's the last thing I want to do is I remember I've been to companies where they got like 16, squares on one screen, just watching everybody. I'm like, why do you do that? I mean, do you not have something better to do? I mean, what the heck is that all about? So, yeah,
It's crazy.
but anyway, yeah. So this is, what we're trying to do here is explain this, efficiency from every angle. And we could go on and have many shows on efficiency because there are just so many things we can do to fix what we're doing now as a business. We still get, coached to run it the way we run it in the 80s. We're not getting coached to run a modern company, like we need to be. And a lot of these coaching, entities are need to turn around and change to a much more modern approach. Because our industry is changing fast and efficiency is the name of the game in this industry. And just think about it, like company that you were with Gettle and Ken. And I remember Ken telling me a story about how y'all fell in, just by accident, fell into the call by call role, right? So y'all figured out a very efficient process and by doing call by call, and it increased your close rate, increased your average tickets. And if I remember right, it's because one of your top selling techs or salespeople out in the field got hurt or sick or something and had to work from in the office. And so he kind of like jumped on the phone to help a guy or something, like, because he was the guy people would call.
Yeah. So the evolution of that, I'll tell you about real quick. Fun story. So, we had one of the greatest salespeople that I've ever seen in the space, just a dedicated, 7 days a week, nonstop sales guy out in the home. And he would be there first guy in the morning, training the people. So he was just one of those guys. But we set this outlandish goal. I think it was like $2 million a month. If you can get a month where you break $2 million, he was a watch guy. We'll get you whatever watch you want. So he wanted the most expensive watch they had. And he was getting real close, real close. He's out in Phoenix and I'm out in Phoenix at the time. And I say, hey, pick me up and we're going to dinner with Ken. And on the way there, he's like, yeah, I got, I'm like, you're really close. You're really close. He's like, hold on a second. Yeah, I'm so close to this goal. I got to talk to these guys. I'm like, okay. And then, on the way to dinner, he sold like $40,000 worth of jobs and a couple of calls on the way to dinner. And I'm like, that's going to count towards your revenue, right? He's like, yeah. And I said, well, number one, don't tell Ken because you're not going to get your watch. Number two, like, this can't be a thing that you do. We have to, make sure that it's a great idea. And everybody's kind of done some of that before, but we need to set things up a certain way. We need to document it and make a system. And so we ended up, taking what he was doing with a couple of these guys that were just really high level communicators and great turn techs. And like, he's helped perfect them and coach them.
That's a great story, but that's a story of efficiency. Y'all stumbled on something out of nowhere to build a efficiency story, process into your business. And yeah, you took the guy out of the field. Well, that was risky. right? It was risky, but then you saw how you could have the multiplier effect, and how he can bring everybody else up, which is more valuable than just doing it himself. Because the key thing you were saying about this thing was it was his goal, his goal, his goal, and now it's everyone's goal to be better.
Goal. Yeah.
And that's efficiency. That is a definition of efficiency right there. Is how you brought that in together and made one guy bring everyone up. Yep. And it more than paid for him, because you didn't lose any revenue from this at all, because in fact it grew because he helped guys, succeed.
You got to be willing to try stuff and trailblaze. One of the things that we did talking about organizational structure and buildings and all that, we actually in one location we actually put our service center in a strip mall next to a Whole Foods. And we learned that we thought, okay, we'll test it because, in theory, you get the extra, added advantage of putting your brand out there in front of a large volume of customers, a lot of foot traffic. Maybe you get people coming in. And you're like, I'll tell you, that juice ain't worth the squeeze. So, maybe there's something else we could have modified about how we put it together, but just the cost of the space, the configuration of in retail, and it's not conducive with having all the trucks and the efficiency of installation that we talked about, and you're far away from the suppliers. It just, for us, we found it not to be worth the squeeze, but it was kind of a fun little experiment though.
But you were willing to try it. And on the surface, it sounds like a great idea. Yeah. I mean, you have so much traffic. That is your customer base going in and out of that store every day. That's who you want. You want that Mrs. Jones. You want the head of the person that's heading up all the problems in the house, taking care of everything, getting the food, whatever. On the surface, that's a great idea. But see, that's the beauty of it, is it didn't work. So we didn't keep going. We pivoted and tried something else after that. Right? You didn't even stop. Yeah. You just did a pivot and did something else. And that's what we have to do as owners, is we have to be willing to continue to improve and try things and learn from guys like us, because I've done probably every mistake already several times. And so it pays to listen to the things we're talking about, because we can stop you from doing the same. How many people were thinking about doing that very thing that you just talked about? Now they won't, because it's not worth it.
Well, if you do and you figure out a way to make it work, let me know.
Then we'll have that person on. We'll definitely have that person on, and we'll talk about that. But that's what I want to do here. I want the audience to talk to us about some things that maybe they've done that has helped their businesses get more efficient, or ask any questions about some thoughts that they have that they want to try. And if we've tried them already, we can steer them in the right direction. I think that would be a great way to communicate with our audience and actually help them get through some of this stuff that maybe they're pondering, or they have questions about. They're thinking about doing something.
What's some of the other real quick, bullet points? If somebody's selecting a location, says, like, okay, I've outgrown my current location, definitely need more parking, for example. Parking is a major one to consider. Like, what are the top, couple of considerations when you're looking to, where you're going to build or, lease a new facility?
Well, location is key. I don't believe in doing the entire Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I don't need to. I want to go 15 miles away from where we are, and that's it. And I believe in location. So no matter where you are in the United States, there's a primo location where you're doing service. And the reason why I say this is because when I got into business, I didn't have a dime. I didn't have any money to promote my business. I didn't have any money for anything. I was just fortunate that I was able to get a business, if you will. And I figured out very early that if I stayed local, we appeared more often, kind of like the grocery store thing. We were there more often in the neighborhoods that were just 3 or 4 miles away from where our office was, because we couldn't afford to go much further. Because I didn't have the marketing to spread out. So I put all what little money we had, we put our marketing into this small area, and it worked because we focused on it and we kept going. And as we grew, we would go out another mile or two out, or take on another town and start dominating that if we could. And so it goes back to owning your backyard. And it's a very efficient process, because what a lot of people do when they start their businesses is they immediately go all across the Metroplex or all across their towns. They drive 50 miles, 60 miles. And we never did that. So we didn't spend the fuel. We didn't wear out the vehicles. We didn't do all that stuff. We were able to be more efficient. Even way back then, I was already thinking about what's the most efficient way to run this business. And by doing that, we built a big presence. We appeared much bigger than we were. And so therefore we had credibility, and it was different back then. I mean, you only made money if you were on the front of the Yellow Pages, and dressing up your technicians wasn't, putting them in a nice uniform. That wasn't even a thing yet. You went in jeans and a t-shirt, and the t-shirt had your company name on it, and you didn't get them a new one. That's what I was competing against. And so we cleaned our guys up, made them shave. They're just little things like that. And so everybody knows that kind of stuff today. That's just standard process now. But we can't stop there. We never can stop innovating, building a business that's as efficient as possible. I'm telling you, just think about a business like Google or something like that. How you have to be efficient to have 25,000 employees and make it work. Right. And so we need to be thinking about efficiency when we're one truck, two trucks, three trucks, and keep doing it as we move up, because I say this a lot. Everyone that has a business is making enough money now. Already. They're already making enough money. They're just inefficient, and the money's not getting to the bottom line or into their pockets. But if you've got $1 million business, there's enough money being made for you to live really well on that 1 million. There's no reason why you can't put 200 of that in your pocket. But the reason you don't is because several reasons. You're very inefficiently ran, and you're always thinking, if I could just get to the next million or 2 million or 3 million, I'm going to be profitable. And the answer to that is no, you won't. It's the same story, just 3x harder. If you're going to grow from 1 million to 3 million, it's 3 times harder, 3 times bigger bills, 3 times more problems. And so you have to build an efficient business no matter what size you are, and keep building an efficient business as long as you can. Just never stop innovating. And I think that's why you and I decided to start this podcast, because we just wanted to help you draw a straight line instead of, learning from your mistakes, because that eats up money too. And I think we can help a lot of folks draw a straight line. And that's the whole ideal here. And, man, this has been a great show today. I hope everybody out there is enjoying it. I just can't stress enough that with the way this industry is changing, efficiency is the name of the game for the future. It is the name of the game. You have to be efficient in every way possible. And we're going to help you do that. So I want to say thanks to my co-host, Landon, again. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoy doing these with you. Looking forward to the next one. I want to thank Sarah Systems for paying the bill here so that you and I can do this and spend our valuable time talking to other people like we do. I really appreciate that, and look forward to seeing y'all out there. There's just a couple of shows coming up here pretty soon. I'm going to see a bunch of folks. So looking forward to that. And let's keep rocking, everybody.
You always forget to say like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Is it even my 10-year-old knows how to say that one, Billy.
Okay, I can do that. So Landon, you have anything you'd like to say?
I would say yes. The pleasure is all yours. I agree.
No, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
You've just entered deeper into the No B.S. zone with today's No B.S. moment.
So, hey, Landon, what's your No B.S. moment this week?
When people have on their resumes or LinkedIn profiles, they have little descriptors of themselves. When they say they're servant leaders, you ever heard anybody refer to themselves as a servant leader?
Typically a guru, and lots of people.
Right. So here's my opinion of it. If you have to tell somebody, walk around telling somebody, it's like saying, to be honest with you. It's like,
Yeah.
if you got to tell somebody you're a servant leader and you're leading from the ground up, and that people love you and you just have this heart of a servant, if you have to say that to people and tell that to people and keep repeating that line, it's probably BS, right? If you can't be, if you can't just demonstrate who you are and people will either see it or not, and you got to tell people, probably BS. So I call BS in the servant leaders out there.
No BS with Billy and Landon is produced and delivered to you by Sarah Systems. At Sarah Systems, we've created a better way to run your home service business and unlock unprecedented growth. Our field service software was designed by real home service professionals to help you save steps, charge for previously unbillable time, and win more business. But the true change requires more than software. Our live coaching helps you understand and control the aspects of your business that matter most. It's about time for a new era of service, and we're leading the way. If you're ready to join the hundreds of other contractors who've been able to increase profit margins more than 50% within 6 months, visit sarah.tech today. That's Sarah, SERA.tech today.